Yes, guys. Yes, people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to Eli Talks Football. And welcome to another episode of Premier League Predictions. And this is season four, I think. Season four, episode five. Because this weekend is game week five predictions. We got some big games coming up. We got the Merseyside Derby at lunchtime. We've got my team playing against Man United at Old Trafford. But the game of the weekend is Arsenal versus Manchester City. Will Arsenal continue to beat Man City at home? Or could Man City get revenge? Because we all saw what happened last season. I did a watch along. They did 5-1 to Arsenal, and things didn't look good for Man City that time, but they have a few players back, so it could be a totally different Man City, but we'll wait to see what happens. So the games I'll be doing a live watching is obviously the Chelsea game and also the Manchester City. So it also faces Man City at the Emirates Stadium this Sunday. So those are the two games I'll be doing. So big games. Looking forward to it. So yeah, man. So in this video, I'll be doing my Premier predictions for Game Week 5. So make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Hit the bell notification as well so they never miss out on my content. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the prediction so far, do let me know what's your prediction for game week 5, and I'll get back as soon as I can. I know I haven't responded to the comments for a long time, but I promise you that I will be able to do it whenever I see the comments. So I will react to them as soon as I can. So yeah, if you got your predictions, do let me know. Right, without further ado, let's start. So, the first game of game week 5 of the Premier League this season is Liverpool versus Everton, the Merseyside derby. Of course, Liverpool have won all of their 5 games in a row. For Everton, only 2 wins because their win was against Brighton and Wolves. They did lose on the opening day and they did draw against Aston Villa. And yeah, this is a big game. Now, in terms of this, Everton, the last time they beat Liverpool at Anfield was in February 2021. It was 2-0, and that was under Carlo Ancelotti, but that was with no fans. I can't remember the last time Everton managed to beat Liverpool at Anfield where there is fans, so I can't remember. And also, David Moyes, he has a bad record when it comes to Anfield. A few draws, but mostly loss after loss after loss. So the question is, would he break that Anfield curse or would it be continue? We're gonna have to wait and see. But I feel like it's going to be. Listen, I think Liverpool are going to win, but I feel like it's going to be very difficult because Everton are a really good team. You know, they got Jack Grealish, who's been cooking. Yes, he didn't do anything against Aston Villa, but he still got. He won the Player of the Month, which is deserved because he got like 4 assists so far. So it's going to be interesting. They still got the Kowe, they still got Beto, they still got players that can hurt Liverpool. But I feel like Liverpool, it's just that they may have bad performances, but they winning games. And you know why? Because that's what champions do. That's the show. That's the sign of champions. You know, look, if you look at Chelsea women, yeah, we don't do well in our performances. When it comes to winning, that's all we do. You look at the Man City game last season in the Champions League, 2-0 down against Man City in the first leg. Second leg, we beat them 3-0 because that's what Miller mentality is. That's what champions do. So to me, I would not be surprised if Liverpool don't perform well and they end up winning because they have their mentality. Obviously, if Everton, let's say they've Everton play like a 5-3-2, like the way Burnley did, I feel like Liverpool going to struggle and maybe this game will be a draw. But if Everton, leave it wide open, then I think it will work for Liverpool because Liverpool cannot break down a low block. So it's going to be very interesting to see what David Moyes does against Liverpool. Would he watch the Burnley game and go, you know what, let me go for back five, let me play a 5-3-2, or would he go for the normal lineup as he always does? So it's going to be interesting to see. So it's a big game, and because of this, I'm going to go for a 1-0. I feel like for me, I'm not going to go for a big scoreline because I would have thought that Liverpool will beat Burnley comfortably, but it was only 1-0. And yeah, it's going to be 1-0 to Liverpool. I feel like this Merseyside derby may be boring to watch, but I feel like in Liverpool in the last minute will tend to score, and that person would be Mo Salah, or maybe could be Szoboszlai, or who knows, maybe Alexander Isak might be making Liverpool not to score late because that's what Liverpool do. They like to score late, whether it's the Premier League or the Champions League. That's what they normally do. So yeah, this is will be Alexander Isak's first debut in the Premier League because obviously he played against Atletico Madrid last night. May not scored, but Liverpool fans told me he was good. So let's see what he can do against Everton and Merseyside derby. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Liverpool win. Of course, the next game is Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Of course, Newcastle only got a 1-0 win against Wolves, and Veltman scored. Newcastle this season have been good, but they haven't got performances so far. Obviously, I watched their game yesterday against Barcelona, and they had chances, but Marcus Rashford, man, honestly, and this is why, yeah, I told KG that Man United are the problem. It's not the players, it's not the manager, it's not the owners, the whole of Man United the problem, including the fans. They are the problem. Because whenever they leave Man United, they tend to do well. Look at Rashford, scored 2 goals against Newcastle. That second goal, what a finish that is. What a finish. You look at Konacho, I think so far he has been okay, but not that great. But we'll get into my game in just a minute. But Man United need to realize that Man United are the problem. And and by the way, I'll be asking KG later on, and I'll be asking him, is he not worried that whenever Man United players leave, they tend to do well? Because look at Scott McTominay, left Man United, scored some big goals for Napoli, won them the league, and in the Ballon d'Or nomination. You know what I mean? So every Man United fan needs to realize that the whole of Man United the problem, and they should be worried when the players leave. Because I tell you what, yeah, they'll be saying Bruno Fernandes is a problem, but when he goes to the likes of maybe Real Madrid or maybe Paris or something like that, he will tend to do well. So for me, there you go. But yeah, back to this one. I feel like Newcastle have been good, but haven't been this great. So for Bournemouth, though, I mean, 3 wins. And in fact, let me look. I believe Bournemouth have won all 3 of their games. I'm just going to have a quick look. Let me see. Bournemouth right now, um, as I'm recording this, are fourth. They've only lost 1 game. I was against Liverpool. Ever since then, they've been unbeaten. 3 games in a row that they've won. Areola deserves credit. He really does. And for me, I don't think Bournemouth are going to finish in the Champions League. But if Bournemouth finish in the European places, let's say like maybe 7 or 6, then that would be a good season, and maybe Areola will be the manager of the season. Because I don't think Bournemouth ever played the Euro before. They never. Bournemouth are a really good team, and they're at home, so it's going to be tough for both teams. But because Bournemouth have really impressed me, and Newcastle not so much. Let's see where Newcastle are in the table. Newcastle are in 10th because they only one win, and that was against Wolves, which are in the relegation zone. So that win was good for Newcastle, but I feel like they are going to show it against Bournemouth because they are a really good team. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1. And Nelson Semedo is absolutely cooking for Bournemouth right now. He really is. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. Obviously, that should have been last season. Remember that the referee and the VR did give that they disallowed Bournemouth's goal, which by the way, that was a ridiculous decision. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I'm gonna go for the same score line as where Bournemouth beat Brighton 2-1. So there you go. Newcastle goal scorer Anthony Gordon is back, so he will be playing for Bournemouth. Nelson Semenyo and I don't know who else, but yeah, Bournemouth are going to get this win 2-1. There we go. All right, the next one is Brighton versus Tottenham. Now, last season, we saw Tottenham go 2-0 up at half time and then end up balling it 3-2. But that was on the Ange. So far, Tottenham have only conceded 1 goal, and that was against Bournemouth. I feel like, Thomas Frank is doing good for Tottenham. He really is. They've only lost 1 game, but I believe they're in third place and they only conceded 1 goal. So I tell you what, yeah, Thomas Frank is looking at he's a much better manager than Ange. But it's early days. It is early days. Like, we'll have to wait and see what Thomas Frank can do. But in a game against Villarreal, yes, they won, but Villarreal, man, they had so many opportunities, man. So many opportunities. But Tottenham hold on. They got clean sheet. I believe they have like 4 clean sheets in five, which is absolutely crazy, you know. 4 clean sheets in five in all competitions. I tell you what, Thomas Frank is doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job. But listen, Tottenham, yeah, they cannot do what they did last season. They simply can't because they need to go. If they say they go 2 up against Brighton, they did last season, Thomas Frank needs to really, really, you know, make sure you got the substitutions right. If you're 2 up and let's say the game is over, then play a back five. Just hold on to this win and see what happens. So there you go. But yeah, Tottenham under Thomas Frank has been looking good, but Brighton, let me see. I feel like they've only had one win. Where is Brighton? Yeah, third place because they've only had one win. Obviously, they lost the last game against Bournemouth, but only one win for Brighton. Not looking good for them, but I think Brighton will do alright. I think Brighton will do alright. In this for this game, it is so tough because Brighton are a really good team, but Tottenham are doing really good. Now, I was thinking that Tottenham are going to get the win, but I feel like Brighton could beat Tottenham, you know, because they beat Man City earlier this season. I feel like they're going to do the same thing. I feel like Brighton are going to win this game because Brighton, since last season, have never, ever lost a Big Six team. They beat Chelsea, they drew to Arsenal, they beat City, they beat Liverpool, they beat Tottenham, they beat Man United. Like Brighton at home, not away, but at home, they're really good. So I feel like Brighton is going to win this game. I'm going to go for 2-1. I'm gonna go for 2-1. They always turn up against big teams at the Amex Stadium. If it is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, maybe I would have gone for Tottenham win. But yeah, I feel like Brighton are gonna win this game 2-1. They are. They are a really good team. Goal scorer for them maybe Danny Welbeck and someone else for Tottenham. Maybe Mohamed Kudus or either a Charlison. But yeah, I feel Brighton are gonna win this game because they always do well against the big teams. They always do. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 to Brighton. All right, the next one is Burnley versus Forest. Of course, Burnley was so close to getting a point against Liverpool, but they conceded a penalty and they lost that game. But Burnley defensively looked really good. For Forest, though, not great so far. Lost 3-0 and Ange debuted for Nottingham Forest. And then Swansea City, they got knocked out. They were 2-0 up. 2-0 up against Swansea. And they've conceded 3 goals in like let me just have a look. Let me see how many minutes they conceded those 3 goals. Just give me a minute. Um yeah, look at this. In fact, they conceded 2 goals in like 4 minutes because in the 68th minute it was 2-1. You know, they were still in it. I didn't think that Swansea would come back, but Zan scored in the 93rd minute, and then Buke scored in the 97th minute, the last kick of the game. Honestly, Ange Postecoglou, man. I mean, listen, um, I don't know how Nottingham Forest fans feel, but I feel like they should never ever sack Nuno. Never. Because yes, you bolted the Champions League, but you in the Europa League. Nuno has a Nuno played in Europe for was took rules to the Europa League and done really well. If I was a Nottingham Forest fan, I'll be fuming that we sacked Nuno because Ange Postecoglou isn't that great. Yes, he says they win trophy in his second season, but if Ange Postecoglou continues like this, then I feel like Forest could be relegated, or maybe close to the relegation zone. Because if Nuno was in charge, not so Forest would have, probably lose against Arsenal, but probably win against Swansea. You know what I mean? So boy, and this is a tough game because Burnley at Turf Moor are really good. They really are. They beat Sunderland 2-0, almost got a point against Liverpool, but didn't do it. So for this game, I'm sorry to say this for Forest, but I feel like it's going to be another loss. I feel like it's going to be another loss. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Burnley win. I feel like they are going to win because Ange Postecoglou is just not making Forest that good. He really isn't. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Forest. 2 games, 2 defeats. This will be his third game away from home. So his second game away from. Sorry, yeah, this will be his third game away from home. 2 games so far. 2 goals, 5 conceded. And I think they will concede seven in 3 games, only score two. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a Burnley win, man. I don't know who's gonna be scoring for them, but I feel like they're gonna get a win. I just don't see Forest winning this game at all. At all. So yeah, 2-0 Burnley for this one. All right. The next one is West Ham versus Palace, and this is the London derby. Of course, Crystal Palace remain unbeaten in the league after that draw against Sunderland. But for West Ham, though, my God, my God. After I thought, yeah, that they might draw against Tottenham because that win against Forest, it looks like that didn't happen. And West Ham right now are in 18th, -7 goal difference, -7. Like it's a must-win game for West Ham because if they don't win, and let's say the likes of Leeds United, Burnley, and Forest win, then West Ham are in deep trouble. If they keep Graham Potter, I feel like West Ham could be relegated. And I never think anybody would ever said that. I think Graham Potter's a good manager, but it looks like he ain't. It looks like the only manager he can do well for is Brighton because he didn't do well for Chelsea, and now it's looking not doing well for West Ham. So there you go. But for Crystal Palace, though, um, they had only one win, was against Villa, but they drew all the last 3 games. But I feel like they are going to win this game because West Ham right now are absolutely awful. They really are. And Crystal Palace also beat them last season. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for the same scoreline. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Crystal Palace win. I feel like Jon Philip Mateta will score a brace in this one. He will do. So yeah, 2-0 to Palace, man. I don't see another game of West Ham win under Graham Potter. I know they're at home, but Graham Potter is under some serious pressure right now. And if he doesn't pick up, he could be the first manager sacked, or it could be someone else. But yeah, I'm gonna go for 2-0 Crystal Palace, man. They may have drawn all of their games, but they remain unbeaten. And Oliver Gazio is doing a fantastic job. So yeah, 2-0 to Palace in that one. All right. The next one is Wolves versus Leeds United. Of course, Wolves are still the Wolves and Villa are still the only team with no wins. Wolves so far, 4 defeats. 4 defeats. Not good for not good for them. For Leeds United though, they're in 16th because they only had one win, and that was their opening game against Everton. And by the way, if it weren't for that penalty that Leeds have got, Leeds United would have been in 19th. They would have been in 19th. They only had 1 point. And this is why I've been telling you guys, Leeds United will get relegated because Daniel Farke has a poor record in the Premier League. Obviously, it's still early days. Maybe he might prove me wrong, but I still, for me, Leeds United will get relegated, and maybe Burnley. Maybe Sunderland could be the only promoted team that could stay up. They could, they could. So we'll have to see what happens. But Wolves, man, this is they. It's a must win for Wolves because, like I said, they're still looking for their first win. They still are. For Leeds United, though, I mean, it's so difficult to predict. It really is. But I just feel like Wolves will win this game, but it's not going to be comfortable for them because Leeds United are a really good team. They really are. I was thinking for a draw, but I feel like Wolves will probably get to win. They really are, but it just all depends. It really all depends what happens. So yeah, for this game, I'm gonna go for a scrappy 1-0 Wolves win. Don't know who's going to be scoring for them, but I feel like they are going to get the win, and they have to. They have to because if they don't, boy, Wolves are going to be in big trouble. Like I said, it's still early days, but Wolves need to get a win. They need to. So yeah, and I feel like they're going to get a win against Leeds because it's a like Leeds away this season hasn't been that great. Lost 5-0 to Arsenal and lost 1-0 to Fulham. So yeah, so I think Wolves are going to get this win 1-0. There you go. All right, the next one is Man United versus Chelsea, the big game. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I'm going to do the preview for KG. So make sure you guys check that out. But listen, there is no excuses, man. Chelsea need to get this win. Do you know the last time, yeah, that Chelsea won at Old Trafford? I was in year 7. I was in year 7. I started my secondary school and I started my key stage 3, which means a bit more, harder questions than the one from primary. I was in year 7. I was 12 years old, you know. Now I'm 24. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, yeah. So like I was saying, the last time that Chelsea won at Old Trafford was in May 2013. 12 years. I was 12 years old. Now I'm 24, going into 25 next month. You know, Chelsea, man, you better win. I do not care, yeah, if it's 1-0 Man United and they score an own goal, or, we score like a lucky goal. I do not care. I want Chelsea to make a statement tomorrow because this is the worst Man United team I've ever seen and the worst manager. I want to see, yeah, that's at the end of the game. I want to see the stat that says Ruben Amorim is the first manager, Man United manager, since Sir Alex Ferguson to lose to Chelsea at Old Trafford. Because Sir Alex Ferguson was there when Chelsea won, and then he was gone. You know, we have to win because look at last season. Wolves went to Old Trafford and won. Who else? Fulham, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Brighton. Who else am I missing? Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, even Tottenham, Bournemouth, Everton, no. Man City, well, sometimes you have a good record there, but Crystal Palace as well, Newcastle, Fulham. I'm not sure if Brentford beat Man United at Old Trafford, but Brighton as well. Burnley did a couple of weeks ago. Even West Ham have beaten Man United at Old Trafford. West Ham, as Villa did a couple of years ago, you know. So if they can do it, why can't we? Why can't we? Why do we always have to go to Old Trafford and don't win? It makes no sense. And let me tell you something, yeah. If Chelsea do not win at Old Trafford, I will not. I can't. I will not be calling Chelsea world champions anymore. I will not. I will not consider Chelsea being world champions anymore because world champions do not draw points against Brentford, Crystal Palace, and losing to Man United. The Bayern game, I was calm because Bayern Munich are a great team. They have some good players. We lost that game. I was calm. I would say I was frustrated because we gifted them goals, but I was calm. But anyhow, Chelsea do not win against Man United, we're gonna have a serious talk, and I'll never give them. And but if Chelsea win, I can forget about the buying game, and I can focus on finally Chelsea the break in the curse. Please, Chelsea, whatever you do, just get a win, please. I'm begging you, just please. Whether it's 1-0 or 2-1 or 3-1, I do not care. I need a win. It's as simple as that. But yeah, my prediction, I'm gonna go 2-1. I was tempted to go 3-1 Chelsea, but I'm like, nah. Because Man United always turn up against the big teams at Old Trafford. They did one against Arsenal but lost. But Chelsea, if you win this game, whether it's 1-0, 2-1, then I'll praise you. I'll say, and I'll be happy. Then I forget the buying game. But anyhow, you lose this game, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. But yeah, there will be a live watch along and a match reaction for that game tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in. All right, another 8 p.m. kickoff is another West London derby. Fulham versus Brentford, of course. Fulham got that 1-0 win against Leeds. Whereas for Brentford, they got that 2-2 draw against my club Chelsea last week. So yeah, in terms of this game, it's very difficult to predict because Brentford, I watched the game last week and they played a back five you know, um, and they did well because we couldn't break them down. So the same situation against Fulham. Can they break down the low block? We're gonna have to wait and see. But I feel like it's difficult to predict, but I feel like Fulham might edge it because it's at home. And yeah, last season they beat them. If you remember Harry Wilson's late winner. So yeah, I feel like Fulham are a really good team, and so is Brentford. But Craven Cottage is a difficult place to go to. It really is. So I'm just gonna lean on a Fulham win of 2-1 because I don't think Fulham are going to do what Chelsea did and just try not to hold on because that's what Fulham can do. They can. And when Fulham played against Chelsea, they looked really good, especially in the first half. Brentford, feel like they did good, but I feel like we dominated them and we should have won this game. But it is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna give Fulham the edge on this one. So yeah, 2-1. I don't know who the goal scorers would be, but I feel like Fulham are gonna get this win because both teams have only had one win so far. But yeah, Fulham, they are a really good team. So yeah, 2-1 to them. All right, Super Sunday. So the first game, of course, is Sunderland versus Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa, boy, oh boy, my God. So far, no wins in 5 games for Unai Emery. 0 wins in 5. Yes, he scored, but that was in the Carabao Cup, and he lost on penalties against Brentford. Boy, Unai Emery, man, I didn't like. If anybody would have said to me that Aston Villa are gonna have a really bad season, I would just be thinking, seriously, are you okay? But so far, only 1 goal scored and 0 wins so far for Unai Emery. Like they are in a they're in deep trouble. Looking at the table, Aston Villa right now are in 19th, and if Wolves beat Leeds United, then and Villa lose, they'll be rock bottom. They'll be rock bottom, and they could still be the only team with no wins so far. 4-0 goals, four conceded, -4 goal difference. For Sunderland, though, boy, they're in 7th place, Only one. And like I said, if they can keep this up, maybe during the Christmas, I might change the prediction for Sunderland to stay up. One loss, and now it's against Burnley, but 2 wins, 1 draw in like 4 games. It's not that bad. And they're in 7th place. And if they win, they could be um, they could be second, depending on the Tottenham and Bournemouth result. And also Everton on the lunchtime kickoff. So Sunderland, they're doing really good. So Villa fans, you may not like this, but you're gonna have to but you're gonna have to accept it. You're gonna lose 2-0. You really are. I don't know where you're gonna be scoring goals. You might even score against Sunderland, but I just think, going to Stadium and Life ain't that easy. It really ain't. And Sunderland are a really good team. They really are. So, yeah, Villa fans, sorry to say this. I don't think they're going to be scoring and winning another game. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 to Sunderland. I'm going to go 2-0. I feel like, yeah, Villa, man. I feel like I don't know what's happening to them. I don't know why they seem to struggle and find it difficult to win games, let alone score in the Premier League. But Unai Emery needs to fix up, man. He really does, because if this continues here, then Villa might be in big trouble. Big trouble. I'm not saying that they're gonna get relegated, but they might struggle. They might, be below the mid-table. So there you go. But yeah, 2-0 to Sunderland, man. I feel like they're gonna get a win again at home, and they'll cause more misery on Una Emery and Villa. So, and let's see what the fans will think about that one. So yeah, 2-0 Sunderland for that one. And then the game of the weekend, the big one at the Emirates Stadium, 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Arsenal versus Man City. Of course, Arsenal got that 2-0 win away to Athletic Bilbao. Man City got that 2-0 win against Napoli. So both teams offensively have been looking good. Like Man City, since that international break, 3-0 win against Man United and 2-0 win against Napoli. Of course, the 3-0 game against Man United, that was a rubbish Man United. But 2-0 against Napoli was really impressive. Yes, Napoli went down to 10 men and, and they play a low block. But Man City found a way to do that. They really did. And Jeremy Doku, man, it looks like he's starting to look good. Got an assist for Phil Foden's goal and then scored. And Erling Haaland, man, honestly, like this guy is not human. He is not real, man. This guy in the Champions League is breaking records after records after records. He's the first player ever in Champions League history to score 50 goals, and he only did it in 49 games. 50 Champions League goals in 49 games is crazy. That's like 1.1 goal per game or something like that. That is crazy, man. And Erling Haaland, man, ever since that 5 goals against Moldova, he has been absolutely fantastic. So listen, last season, Erling Haaland couldn't have scored against Arsenal. Were they able to do that when he's up against Mosquera and Gabriel? It's going to be very interesting to see. Now, of course, last season also beat Man City 5-0, but there was no Rodri and there was no Phil Foden. No excuses for Man City. They deserved to lose that game, but there was no Rodri and there was no Phil Foden. Both of them are back, and it looks like Man City are starting to look good without the likes of Ryan Cherky, Omar Marmoush, and all of that stuff. So it's absolutely crazy. So if I was the Man City fan right now, I'll put the same lineup and the same tactics against Arsenal because it's at the Emirates Stadium. It's a very difficult place to go to. 60,000 fans in that stadium. And it's going to be very interesting to see if Man City can get revenge because the last two seasons they've lost. They've conceded 7 goals and only scored two, which is not that great. So listen, I think Arsenal will still win, but I don't think it's going to be the same result as last season. I don't think so. I really don't think so. So it's going to be a very tight game for both teams, but I feel like Arsenal will get the job done. I like to say this as well. Daps, yeah, have said that Pep Guardiola should, just sit back, play a low block, and try and hit Arsenal counter attack. And listen, it worked against Man United, fair enough. But what Dabs need to realize, yeah, that Arsenal are way, way better than Man United. Way better. Man United are rubbish. They are shit. They have one game a week, and they don't have midweek games until Christmas. They don't. It's as simple as that. Whereas for Arsenal, they're really good defensively. Their midfield sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be not. Their attack, they weren't great against Athletic Bilbao, but the substitutions came on at the right time. Both Trossard and Martinelli scored, and they still won. But also the fans are just absolutely crazy. Their squad depth might be the best in the league. Might be, because they can bring someone on that make an impact, and that's the difference. If so also, defense is really good. It really is good. But it's going to be a very tight game. I don't think it's going to be the same result, but I feel like Arsenal will win. So I'm going to go for 2-1. I think the goal scorers will be let me see. Maybe um Jokeres will score and maybe Declan Rice because he loves to score against the big team. So there you go. For Man City, I'm going to go for Erling Haaland. I feel like it's going to be another loss, but it's going to be interesting to see what Pep Guardiola does this time at the Emirates Stadium. So there we go. So yeah, 2-1 to City in the big game of the weekend. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but like last weekend, there's 8 games on Saturday and only 2 on Sunday. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. But anyway, let me go for my predictions one more time. So Saturday's games, Merseyside Derby, I've gone for 1-0 Liverpool win against Everton. Then 3 p.m. kickoff, I've gone for Bournemouth 2-1 win against Newcastle. A Brighton 2-1 win against Tottenham. 2-0 Burnley win against Forest. A 2-0 Palace win against West Ham. A 1-0 Wolves win against Leeds United. 2-1 win against Chelsea in a big game. 2-1 Fulham win against both in the West London Derby. Then Super Sunday, I've gone for Sunderland 2-0 win against Villa and Arsenal 2-1 win against Manchester City. So that's all my Premier League predictions for game week number 5. And so that is it, guys. That is the end of this video. Don't forget there will be a live watch along and a match action for Man United Chelsea. Hoping and praying that we get to win. And then there will be a live watch along for the Arsenal Manchester City game. So big games clash for the big 6 teams all at the same time for the first time this season. So really looking forward to it, of course. I'm not going to be able to do the Merseyside derby because I will be busy on that Saturday. But yes, the Chelsea game and the Arsenal Man City game will happen live on my YouTube channel. And if you guys don't want to miss out of that one, make sure you click the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification as well so they never miss any of my content. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your games, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys again very soon. And Chelsea, you better win tomorrow at Old Trafford. Otherwise, we're gonna have some talk, man. You and I are gonna have some serious talk. And Enzo Wesker, boy, you better deliver. You better get the tactics right. You better do it. So there we go. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much for watching. Look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.